The story begins with a girl trapped inside a cage. The king arrives with his noble friends and commands the girl to sing for them. Arya is the last remaining siren on Earth. The sirens are monsters known for their ability to bewitch others with their song. But instead of living in glory, Arya is forced to become the king's pet and has to sing until she coughs out blood. The girl is in despair and begs a god or demon to help her. She doesn't expect that her wish will really come true. Our heroine is reborn into the past. Arya returns to her 10-year-old self, and this time, she will change her fate. The girl watches as the servants force her new husband into the room. You see, Arya had entered a 10-year contract marriage with this young boy. Our heroine plans to save herself and her young sweetheart. Unfortunately, the boy is unwilling to marry a young and ignorant bride. Arya is unhappy because she is clearly older than him. Lloyd is forced into the room and the servants lock them in. The boy is frustrated and heads over to Arya. Our heroine stares at him as she remembers her past. In her former life, Lloyd was known as a demon who killed his whole family at 18. He sold his soul to the devil and was even accused of killing the emperor. But Arya is the only one who knows this man was her savior. A flashback to the past, and we see Arya being beaten up. The girl had decided to harm the king with her siren song, but the man survives and is ready to have his revenge. He is about to stab her when Lloyd suddenly appears. The Grand Duke kills the king with a single strike and frees Arya from her prison. The siren knows she would never forget this scene even after her death. He offers his hand to her, but Arya can't even move. Her legs have already been broken. The girl is in despair, but Lloyd picks her up. He isn't afraid of the rumors. People say her songs can make men mad, but the Grand Duke has already lost his soul. He even tells her there is no limit to his madness. Arya is touched and makes a vow. If there is a next life, she will do her best to save him. And the girl gets her wish. The young Lloyd interrupts her thoughts. His bride has been too quiet, so he thinks she is nervous. Arya stares at the boy in front of her and suddenly smiles brightly. She grabs his hand and the little child is shocked. Our heroine thanks him for being born and promises to make him happy. Arya's past life is really tragic. From the day she is born, her mother feeds her a drug that steals her voice. She becomes fierce whenever Arya refuses to drink the medicine. Our heroine's father also beats her and calls her useless. The child is unwilling and constantly wonders why she has to suffer. She doesn't understand why her mother never sings to her or reads her stories, but when she turns 10, our heroine discovers the truth. Her mother ends her life by ripping out her own throat. Arya hears the rumors from the maids and realizes that she is a siren. Sirens are mystical creatures known to control humans and heal people with their voice. 12 years ago, Arya's mother was kidnapped by Count Cortez and forced to become his wife. The man drags her around the nobles, showing off the siren he has captured. But after Sophia's death, he grows more violent and beats Arya every day. One day, the child reveals her mother's biggest secret and speaks in front of her father. Cortez is furious with Sophia for hiding this truth, but soon becomes pleased when he hears Arya's angelic voice. He begins to parade her around just like her mother. Arya is forced to sing in front of the nobles and quickly becomes famous. But our heroine wants none of it. She prays for a god to save her, yet her fame only spreads across the country. People begin to worship her as a goddess. Things worsen when a saintess suddenly appears in the capital. She convinces the people that Arya is a monster who has bewitched the king and his nobles. Fueled by anger, the people begin to rebel. The saintess promises to purify the palace, and a war begins. Citizens are sent into battle, and those who refuse are forced to watch their entire families be killed. The holy knights kill everyone in the capital under the guise of purification. And yet, the emperor refuses to let Arya go. Instead, he breaks her legs and locks her in a cage. Our heroine spends years living as a prisoner. Just as she is about to end her life, someone suddenly appears before her. The man offers to help her kill all her enemies. Arya recognizes him as the infamous Grand Duke, accused of murdering his whole family. He reveals himself as a demon and tells Arya to call him when she needs his help. At first, our heroine refuses to seek revenge. But in her final moments, she summons the demon. Lloyd saves her from the Mad King, but she is already dying. He finds it tragic, wishing he could hear her sing one last time. Arya fears her ability has corrupted him, yet the man is willing to go to hell with her. The siren is deeply moved by his sacrifice and, for the first time, feels the desire to sing for someone. Unfortunately, her voice is already gone. Even though she can only move her lips, the Grand Duke still listens. He may be a demon, but he is also her savior. Arya takes her last breath, ready to wake up in hell. Instead, she opens her eyes and sees the small room she grew up in. She looks around confused until she realizes this isn't a dream. The girl has really returned to the past. She is surprised to hear her voice until she remembers that she stopped taking the medicine after her mother's death. Arya whispers her father's name, blaming him for ruining her life. This time, she is going to take revenge. Our heroine rushes out of the room, startling the maids outside. She ignores their frightened looks, desperate to find her father. It is the middle of the day, but Cortez is busy drinking in the wine room. He clearly isn't pleased to see Arya. The girl ignores his displeasure and suddenly begins to sing. Her voice shocks the man, and he can't believe his mute daughter has been deceiving him. He is sure this must be her mother's plan. Cortez becomes obsessed because her voice is even better than Sophia's. He plans to make her his puppet, using her to control the empire. The man falls at her feet, begging Arya to sing again. But the girl only smirks. She always thought her father was scary, but now he is just a pathetic old man. She says this will be the first and last time the man will hear her sing. The Count is confused until Arya says she will make him forget everything. She immediately begins to sing, but this time, she controls his mind to forget the past. Cortez is unwilling because he knows this voice will bring him success. Unfortunately, he can't resist the siren's power and soon loses his mind. Arya stares at the defeated man without pity. He is still in a daze as she asks about his biggest secret. The mermaid tears. Cortez tells her the location and even hands over the keys. Arya rushes to his room, and after some searching, she finds the little box. The mermaid tears are filled with evil energy that can control the sirens. In her past life, her father wore them every day, using it to suppress her mother. He took them off after Sophia's death, but wore them again when Arya regained her voice. The girl is sad as she remembers her mother's death, but she knows her plan would have failed if she returned earlier. Arya is back in her room, admiring the flowers. She still can't believe she returned to the past. Our heroine always thought that she would end up in hell. She vows to change her fate, but she has no idea what she should do. She just wants to avoid the fate of broken legs and a burned face. Because of the drugs she took from a young age to hide her voice, our heroine is destined to have a short life. But she's determined to live properly until she dies at 20. Arya thinks about her next step. She has to hide her identity as the last remaining siren. She knows everyone would lose their mind when they hear her sing. Well, except for one person. Lloyd has already lost his mind a long time ago. His eyes had always been empty, and he would only react when he killed someone. The Grand Duke was known to take drugs, desperate to escape from reality. Arya recalls the events that would happen 4 years from now. Everyone in the Valentine family, including their servants, would all be murdered. The people even gave the incident a name, calling it the Valentine disaster. As the only surviving member, Lloyd would become the family head, but people would also accuse him of being the suspect. Even though the boy wasn't punished, Arya knew he would become empty. She thinks about the man that desires nothing and is determined to change his fate. She wants to spend her short life by his side, making him happy. On the other side of town, a boy is admiring the moonlight. A servant rushes in with urgent news. The boy's mother is dying. The child turns around and we see that familiar face. It is Lloyd Valentine. The servants in the Count's mansion are all in shock. The man has just ordered them to give Arya some new clothes. The maids are unhappy because they think the girl is a disgrace to the Cortez family. The Count had even vowed never to accept his daughter. The women believe the man is just drunk and is only keeping Arya around as a replacement for her mother. The girl is just a decoration. Our heroine can hear their nasty conversation, but she isn't bothered. Sirens are famous for their unnatural beauty. People had never believed those rumors until they saw Arya's mother for the first time. One of the maids glances at Arya and is captivated by her beautiful eyes. She immediately shakes away those thoughts, reminding herself the girl is just a useless mute. She follows the other maids, anxious to reveal the rumor she heard. The Count has sent a servant to purchase new clothes for Arya. The rest of the maids are unhappy until the girl reveals the Count's plan. He is sending Arya away to become the Valentine's future bride. The rest of the maids begin to gloat. They are all convinced that our heroine is going to die. Everyone has heard the tales about the Valentine's brides. The duchy only opens its gates when their prince is searching for a wife. But the women who marry into the Duke's household all die during childbirth. Of course, these are all rumors. No one knows the truth because the women who marry into the duchy all abandon their families. The maids are pleased with this news and soon have an evil idea. They plan to mistreat Arya since the girl is mute and can't complain. Our heroine glances at the foolish maids, wondering if she should teach them a lesson just like her father. Instead, she chooses to spare their lives. She takes out her notepad, ordering the women to bring her some good food. The maids try to talk back, but Arya immediately shatters a plate. She glares at them, scaring those nasty bullies. Our heroine is pleased when she sees the table full of delicious food. The maids try to fawn over her, but the girl glares at them. She is not interested in their fake service. The child smirks because she will make them live in fear, always wondering when she would take her revenge. She orders the maids to get out, causing the frightened women to run away. Arya notices their fear and feels inferior. The child thinks her face is too scary. In her past life, her face had been covered in burns. When she took her mask off, people would immediately become frightened. Arya is sad and decides to continue hiding her face. Days pass, and we see our heroine going on a journey with her father. Except the people seem to have gotten lost. No matter what they do, they just can't find the right road. Count Cortez is furious and orders the carriage to stop. He curses the Valentines, even though he is the one rushing to befriend them. Arya isn't upset because the Grand Duchy has always been strict. Their mansion is hidden in the woods, which prevents outsiders from visiting. They also inspect everyone they work with and never socialize with random families. The girl knows her father is only furious because the duchy rejected all his letters, causing the other families to mock him. Meanwhile, the driver looks terrified as he urges the Count to return. He explains that the road to the duchy is unknown because those who visited never came back alive. The man really regrets taking this job. Cortez is furious and blames the guard for accepting the job. He refuses to turn back, threatening to kill the man if he can't find the way. While the men argue, Arya takes a look outside and immediately notices a weird energy. This place is covered with a barrier. In the Empire, every group has a different power. The Sirens use mythical energy, while the priests have divine power. The wizards use mana, but the spellcasters perform magic. Their powers might be different, but every group can sense the other's energy. Arya is sure this is an illusion barrier set up by the duchy. Just then, the men hear some growling. The guard immediately remembers the rumors about the beasts in these woods. Cortez is scared and blames the man for hiding the truth. They are all terrified, but it is too late. Arya hears their screams and knows a battle has begun. Arya slips on her mask and steps outside to take a look. She immediately sees the injured bodies of her father's guards. Opposite her, we see a man wearing a dark cloak, surrounded by huge wolves. He is clearly unhappy with the unexpected visitors. Our heroine knows she is in trouble. She notices his familiar gray eyes and immediately feels nervous. Just then, the man orders his wolves to kill her. Arya falls to her feet and closes her eyes as she waits for her death. But instead of a wolf bite, she suddenly feels the large dogs licking her face. The poor girl is so confused, she has giant question marks floating over her head. Well, at least she is still alive. The man wonders if his dogs have suddenly gone mad. He flicks their forehead and they immediately hide behind Arya. They have totally forgotten about their master. The Duke is so shocked, he thinks his dogs have gone crazy. He studies the girl wearing a mask, wondering what sort of creature she is. His dogs are super fierce and only respect the strong. They only follow the Duke because he is the strongest person in this world. The man crouches down and studies the girl, wondering if she is stronger than him. He feels dissatisfied because no matter how he looks at her, she seems to be weaker than an insect. Arya knows the dogs are only friendly because sirens can communicate with animals. In her past life, her father had killed all the beasts around her, so she could never use this ability. The girl admires the huge dogs, and when she touches their fur, she immediately falls in love. Her pretty eyes even begin to sparkle. The Duke watches in disgust as the poor girl is almost buried by his huge dogs. He carries her like an insect, determined to take this strange girl back to his mansion. The group arrive at the estate, and the butler scolds the Count for trespassing into the Grand Duchy. He says the man should be grateful to Arya because she saved his life. Meanwhile, the girl is more interested in the strange drink the man has given her. She touches the floating white object and immediately jumps at the feeling. The butler is confused by her reaction, but still secretly whispers that it is marshmallow. Our heroine hears the wrong name and is more curious about the strange object. The Grand Duke can't scold the little girl, so he orders his butler to feed the Count's men to his hunting dogs. Cortez looks terrified, refusing to believe his loyal knights have turned into some dog food. He glares at Arya, blaming the girl for his misfortune. Instead, he sees two large dogs glaring at him. The man is immediately frightened. The butler reminds him that Arya is his savior, but her father remains silent. He only smiles when the butler offers to compensate him. The Grand Duke says they can give the Count any amount he asks for. Cortez smirks with greed as he offers the Duke another deal. He is willing to sell his daughter to the Grand Duchy. He whispers from across the room, urging Arya to take her mask off. Our girl just watches him like a clown. The man is embarrassed, but still insists on selling his daughter. The Duke wonders why Cortez had hidden his child, but the man claims the girl is mute. He thinks that will make her a good wife, and even tells the Duke to cut off her arms since she can also write. The butler is really furious and accuses the Count of insulting their family. The man slams the table, unwilling to take the blame. The butler warns him not to misbehave since they only accepted him because of his father. Arya stares at the butler, pleased by his insult. Her father has always hated it when people mention his genius father. The butler notices her stare and leans down, urging the little child to finish her drink. Arya can't understand why this strange man is so nice to her. She hears the dogs barking and is immediately convinced it is because of her siren abilities. Our girl is going to use that to her advantage. She shamelessly advertises herself, claiming to be good at taming animals. She can also learn things quickly, so she urges the butler to take her away. The Count is displeased to see his daughter speaking up. He snatches her paper, warning the useless girl to stay quiet. He grabs her arm but sees 3 large dogs ready to attack him. Cortez grabs his daughter's hand roughly, warning the girl to stay silent. He sees the huge dogs glaring at him, but before they can attack, the Grand Duke punches his face. The man pulls Arya away and is prepared to buy her. Our heroine is excited, staring at the man in awe. He looks the same as her sweet Lloyd. Well, except for his long hair. The Duke is confused by the child's stare. He doesn't understand why this little child isn't afraid of him. He had just offered to feed people to dogs and had even threatened her life. Arya holds his cloth tightly, not frightened by his harsh words. She stares at him with bright eyes, determined to hold on to his golden thigh. The Grand Duke can't resist her cuteness and offers to make the payment immediately. The Count is stunned, but the butler is already used to his master's impulsive behavior. Valentine wonders if the man is unhappy, but his butler grins widely. He thinks Arya must be a good person since the dogs also love her. The poor girl is almost confused by his logic and believes the Duke is a good person. But then she remembers that good people don't feed others to dogs. The butler hands over 2 boxes of gold to the Count. Valentine warns the man never to appear in front of them again. He must also forget about Arya for the rest of his life. The Duke threatens to end the entire Cortez family if the man betrays his vow. The Count is still as greedy as ever as he tells them he has another request. He wants Arya's first daughter to be handed over to him. The Count is pleased with himself, but our heroine is furious. Her father is only asking for her child because he hopes her daughter will be a siren. He is still filled with evil ideas even after her brainwashing. The Grand Duke is also angry when he hears the Count's absurd request. He changes his mind and plans to feed the entire Cortez family to his hunting dogs. The butler leads the Count away before his boss can totally destroy him, but he also has another plan. He asks the torturers to take Cortez away and teach him a lesson. They will punish him for his foolish words and make sure he forgets about his daughter. Arya approaches the butler and he immediately changes from a scary gangster into a gentle grandpa. The girl marvels at his quick switch. The man leads her into a huge room and even apologizes for not preparing a better place. Meanwhile, our girl is in awe because this room is more fancy than the Imperial Palace. Just then, she sees a maid approaching. The girl introduces herself as Dana, the head maid and also Lloyd's nanny. The woman clearly loves cute things and is already eager to serve Arya. Our poor heroine is unused to such attention and even her little fingers turn red. Dana apologizes for the prince's absence because the boy is taking care of his sick mother. She urges Arya not to be upset if the prince doesn't welcome her. Our heroine feels sad, afraid her little crush might not want his new bride. The maid tries to distract her, asking Arya to write down her favorite foods. Our heroine begins to write but finds it difficult. The poor girl has never tasted many foods and has no idea what she likes. The maid is waiting for a long list but only sees Arya asking for some warm soup. The child will be happy if she can have some warm soup that hasn't spoiled. Dana looks just as shocked as we are. The girl thinks the maid is disappointed, so she panics, trying to think of something she likes. She remembers her new favorite, the marsh mole, and quickly writes it down. Dana is confused until the little girl explains. She laughs because the child is too adorable. She still expects more, but our heroine is really out of ideas. She finally explains to the woman that she doesn't know many foods. She is afraid to look at the maid, expecting to see her disappointed face. But instead, she sees the woman crying. Arya doesn't understand why Dana is sad, so she offers to learn. Instead, the woman suddenly leans over and gives the child a big hug. I also want to hug her too. Arya is afraid the maid might be disappointed by her lack of knowledge. Instead, the woman leans over and gives her a big hug. She feels pity for the poor child and tries her best to comfort her. Arya is unused to such affection because she has been treated harshly from a young age. She chose to escape instead of taking revenge. But now, Dana's hug makes her feel comforted. Our heroine closes her eyes in bliss. The next day, Arya is admiring the rainfall when Dana rushes in. She thinks her baby miss might be scared and worries about her. Arya isn't pleased by her new nickname. It is truly a crime to be short. She asks the maid not to call her a baby, but Dana only laughs at her. She even rubs our heroine's little head. Arya is stunned by her touch and keeps caressing her hair. She finally understands why the dogs love to be stroked. It really feels good. Dana finds her behavior amusing, offering to stroke her head again. Arya refuses, insisting that she isn't a baby. The maid laughs, wondering why the girl is staring out of the window. Arya's eyes sparkle as she says she was admiring the pretty flowers. The maid is surprised because the Duchess also likes flowers. She mentions the rare plants in the garden, and our heroine becomes curious. She stares at Dana with her sparkling eyes, begging to see the plants. The maid tries to refuse because of the heavy rain, but Arya's pretty eyes are just irresistible. She finally gives in, offering to prepare her clothes. She sees the pretty dresses that the Count brought over and asks the child to choose her favorite. Arya exposes her scummy father, revealing that she has never worn such pretty clothes. He only bought them because she was coming here. The look on Dana's face becomes scary, and she no longer finds the clothes cute. Arya is shocked by her sudden change as the woman says the dresses are rags. She is filled with a dark aura and asks the other maids to measure Arya for some new clothes. Our female lead wonders how her outing turned into a shopping spree, but she is pleased to hear people scolding her trashy father. Dana gathers the maids, giving them a new mission. They have to find the perfect clothes for Arya in an hour. The girls rush around, and our female lead is soon dressed in gorgeous clothes. She even has her own little umbrella. Dana is pleased to see the girl's happy face. She has another present and hands Arya a little rabbit mask. The child studies the bunny ears and becomes worried about Dana's weird taste. She tells the maid she isn't a baby, but Dana just laughs. Arya is confused, wondering why the woman made a mask and is so kind to her. The Duke also never forced her to reveal her face. The girl thinks they are trying to test her by acting kindly. Arya vows to remain calm, but her resolve crumbles when Dana suddenly pokes her soft cheeks. Our heroine's face immediately turns pink. The maid is amused, but quickly apologizes with a cup of cocoa. Arya grabs it, trying to hide her red face. Instead, she falls in love with the taste of the drink. She praises the maid while Dana admires her cute mistress. Arya has never been praised before, and the girl is shocked. But their cute moment is interrupted as a maid rushes in with bad news. The weather is gloomy, just like our heroine's mood. The girl takes a walk alone because the servants have all headed to the Duchess' room. She gazes at the top floor, wondering if the Duchess's illness will worsen today. She recalls the maid rushing into the room, announcing that the woman was very ill. The servants had all left her, urging her to return after viewing the flowers. They had mentioned Lloyd's love for his mother. The child spent all his time taking care of her. Arya finally understands why the prince was devastated after his mother died. The girl knows she must prevent the Duchess' death. That is the only way to stop Lloyd from becoming a heartless monster. Arya is in a dilemma. She wants to prevent the Duchess' death, but right now she is just an outsider. There is nothing she can do. The girl hears footsteps approaching, but when she turns around, a sword is placed right at her neck. The culprit questions her, asking why she is sneaking around like a rat. Arya is stunned to see the boy she has been waiting for. It is Lloyd Valentine. The prince accuses Arya of pretending, only showing her true colors now that everyone is busy. Meanwhile, our heroine remembers Lloyd's empty eyes in her past and is just glad to see him looking lively. The girl's behavior is too calm, and Lloyd becomes upset. He threatens to cut off her head if she refuses to speak. The boy isn't making empty threats as he steps closer, causing the sword to pierce her neck. Thankfully, it is just a small wound, and the prince also feels guilty. He quickly drops his sword, finally believing that Arya is mute. The girl is nervous, realizing that the boy was just testing her. She is so frightened that her umbrella falls off. Lloyd immediately notices her cute rabbit mask. She trembles like a little bunny, and he decides to make that her new nickname. And since he can read her lips, he urges the girl to say the truth. Arya has a lot to say. She escaped her cage because she wanted to become Lloyd's shining stars. She is willing to be his fire and hopes he can burn her anytime he wants. Of course, our heroine doesn't say those words, afraid she might scare her little husband away. Instead, she says the stroking was nice, but her words make the prince confused. The two children hold hands as they hide from the rain. Lloyd is disgusted by this weak human, wondering if everyone beyond the barrier is useless. He feels guilty when he notices Arya's bleeding neck. The boy urges her to turn around and uses a cloth to hide her injury. Arya is feeling touched until she hears the boy asking if she is a sewer rat's prey. The girl is confused at first, but soon understands his question. The sewer rats are the leaders of the underworld, or the sewage. Their workers are also called the rat's prey. Arya never expected Lloyd to be so suspicious of her. She isn't upset because the underworld and the Valentines are long-term enemies. Lloyd finally reveals why he is so suspicious. People raised as the rat's prey are all mute. Plus, Arya's name isn't on the Cortez family list. The boy claims he has a way to identify the sewer rats. Arya is amazed because the rats have spread over the country. They could never be identified, which made the Emperor furious. She's eager to hear Lloyd's mighty method, only to hear the boy asking her to curse the organization. Lloyd reveals his way of identifying the rats and asks Arya to curse the organization. The girl is shocked by his ridiculous request, but he takes it as a sign of guilt. He drags out his sword, ready to end this sewer rat prey. Arya stops him and mouths the insult, before the impatient child can cut off her head. Lloyd is barely satisfied as he flings her hand away. He warns the girl to leave on her own because the duchy isn't safe for a weak child. And Arya is returning to her room when she hears some maids talking about Lloyd. They are afraid the boy will go on a killing spree because of his mother's condition. The Duchess's sickness has worsened, and the maids are afraid she might really die this time. The woman has mentioned her last wish and wants to be buried under a cherry blossom tree. Her only regret is not seeing the flowers again before she dies. The servants curse everything, unhappy about their master's death. Arya listens to their conversation, remembering the old cherry blossom tree she saw on her walk. The girl seems to be planning something. Our heroine indeed has a plan. She's going to sing the song of life. Arya has never sung outside because she was always gagged before leaving the house. She feels strange but still begins to sing. Something magical happens, as the withered cherry blossom tree suddenly begins to blossom. Arya ends her song and the old tree is now covered in pretty flowers. But our heroine suddenly feels dizzy. Her little body is still too weak to control her powers. Just then, she hears some noises and sees a few messenger birds flying around. She grabs one, whispering a little request into its ear. Arya watches as the bird flies away, heading towards the Duchess' room. The girl can't hold it anymore and finally collapses. Meanwhile, the bird arrives at the Duchess's window, frightening the poor maids. They try to chase the bird away, but it refuses to leave. The Duchess is soon distracted by their commotion. The girls explain the situation and the woman insists on seeing the stubborn bird. The Duchess orders the maids to assist her as she approaches the window. But instead of a bird, she sees the blooming cherry blossoms. The maids think it is impossible, but when they look outside, they really see the blooming flowers. The Duchess is in awe as she admires the sight. Everyone in the duchy calls it a miracle. Meanwhile, the miracle worker is now in danger. A suspicious figure sneaks into her room like a little thief. The prince watches the sleeping girl and feels a bit guilty when he tries to touch her. He recalls the events that just happened. A few hours ago, the mansion was nearly destroyed as the maids discovered that Arya is missing. Lloyd overhears their conversation and finally admits that he saw the girl. He is sure the weak child is hiding somewhere because he threatened her to get lost. The maids stare at him in condemnation, making the prince feel a bit guilty. He offers to search for the little bunny, and the maids urge him not to scare her away this time. Lloyd begins his search, but doesn't forget to scold the little bunny for leaving. He notices the blooming tree, and the child is shocked. He could have sworn the old tree was withered when he first passed by. The boy pinches his own face and feels the pain. He finally believes that this isn't a dream. Lloyd is admiring the flowers when he bumps into a little bag. He is sure it belongs to that stubborn girl. The boy believes there might be poison or weapons inside, but all he sees is a stack of papers. They are Arya's writing notes, and Lloyd scolds her for being too careless. He decides to take a peek, and they are full of Arya's feelings since she arrived at the mansion. The boy is amused by her wrong spelling of marshmallow, but his mood soon turns dark when he finds Arya's old notes. They are full of words like, "I'm not an imbecile," and "please don't hit me." The last note breaks our heart as the girl pleads for someone to love her. Our female lead finally wakes up and sees a large crowd standing beside her bed. The maids all look worried, but Arya isn't used to their behavior. Dana feels pity for her weak and fragile miss. She caresses the child's head, and our heroine is pleased by her touch. Her cute face almost makes the servants faint. Arya remembers her important mission and sits up, frightening poor Dana. She asks about the Duchess, but the maid assures her the woman is fine. She mentions Lloyd's visit and hands over the storage bag he brought. Arya is relieved to have her bag, but when she opens it, she spots a new pen. The girl is confused because the pen looks very expensive. Dana thinks it might be a gift from Lloyd. Arya is impressed by the duchy's wealth. She notices something else inside the bag, but it isn't a gift. It is a note from Lloyd warning her to get lost. Our heroine is frightened as she thinks the pen might be her farewell present. She asks Dana for advice, but the maid only laughs. She tells the child the prince has ordered them to bring over all kinds of desserts. But our female lead isn't happy to hear this. The girl is afraid this might be her last supper. Arya is forced to take some bitter medicine for her sickness, but the maids reward her with a jar of star candy. Our heroine has never tasted such sweets and is very curious. She takes a bite and her face immediately flushes with happiness. The maids receive another attack of cuteness, causing their poor hearts to nearly jump out. Dana arrives with some flowers and books to make her little mistress happy. Arya is admiring her presence when a group of men rush inside. Her maid says the 6 men will be her personal guards, and Arya is impressed. She notices a foul look on one of the men's faces and wonders if he was forced to be her guard. Our heroine is still thinking when she is suddenly attacked by a giant sneeze. The whole room freezes at the sound, making the girl wonder if something is wrong. A maid studies the 100 things to know about weak people and concludes that flowers are harmful. The women panic, gathering around to discuss. They take a look at their fragile miss and immediately get rid of the flowers. Arya is disappointed when she sees the empty room, but Dana is relieved. She has never taken care of someone from outside the barrier. The servants always mention a barrier, so Arya becomes curious. Dana explains that a barrier separates the Valentine mansion from the outside world. Because of this, the people in the duchy are stronger than others. Our heroine remembers that the giant dogs she saw were even bigger than normal wolves. The girl finally understands why Lloyd refused to let her stay. Dinner time arrives and the maids fuss over Arya, worried the bitter taste might upset her. They are afraid the girl might get food poisoning. Dana warns the maids to treat Arya like a newborn baby since the people outside the barrier are the weakest. Our heroine refuses to accept her baby status, but seeing the people caring about her makes her feel cherished. Just then, she hears a malicious voice condemning her weakness. Arya looks around, trying to find the speaker, and soon notices the mean knight. The man thinks Arya is weaker than him, and he smirks, feeling superior. He has no idea the girl is actually a siren with super hearing. His words are very unpleasant, and our heroine feels disgusted. She waves him over, but doesn't expect the man to mock her for being mute. The maids are enraged and are ready to fight him. But what frightens the man is the look of fear on Arya's face. The knight gives an insincere apology, saying he is just worried about Arya's health. The maids are furious while our heroine glares at him. She suddenly asks about his age, and when he says he is 24, she scolds him for being useless. She points out that her health can get better, unlike his sick brain. The man has been completely roasted and is full of anger. He actually asks a 10-year-old child what she has accomplished. Arya glances at him once more, giving him a final blow. She says her goal is never to become like him. The knight curses Arya, but the room is soon filled with a cold aura as Lloyd appears. He is furious at the insult and immediately draws his sword. He is prepared to end the guard's life until he sees a nervous Arya shaking her head. Lloyd spots her injury and immediately becomes obedient. Well, a sword isn't the only way. The boy walks in with 2 huge panthers, threatening to end the knight's life. The man gazes at the dangerous animals and trembles in fear. He apologizes to Lloyd, but the young boy only scoffs. He orders the disobedient guard to kneel and beg for Arya's forgiveness. The man obeys, bowing in defeat. Arya finds his previous behavior useless since he still ended up in such a pathetic state, but the girl should worry about herself. A furious Lloyd scolds her for putting up with the man's behavior. Our heroine feels wronged because she really thinks she got her revenge. The boy ignores her, handing over a brass knuckle. Arya receives it in fear, wondering if it is used to beat people up. Lloyd explains that it is a symbol of his authority. While he is gone, he is giving Arya his power. He says the girl can get rid of the guard or even send him to the stables. But the prince has a condition. Before he returns, Arya has to find another home outside the barrier. The girl watches him leave, wondering if this is the proper way to chase someone away. A few hours later, Arya is trying to sleep when she hears a strange sound by her window. The girl staggers over in confusion, only to see the cute messenger bird. Arya admires its beauty until she notices a note tied to its leg. Our curious heroine begins to read, and it is a letter from the Duchess. The woman thanks the mysterious spring fairy. She was really going to die until she saw the spring flowers that Arya had gifted her. Their beauty had given the Duchess the courage to live again. Our heroine panics at first, wondering if her identity has been exposed. But she calms down when she sees the woman calling her a spring fairy. Arya is filled with the desire to save the Duchess. She writes a reply to her letter and sends the bird away. The girl vows to save the woman and give her all the beauty in this world. Days pass and our heroine begins to worry about her weak little body. The girl might really die if she tries to sing the Song of Healing. Arya feels frustrated but is determined to find a place to practice her singing. She tries to rush outside, but Dana stops her from leaving. She insists that her little mistress has to get some rest. Arya has learned a few tricks and uses her sparkling eyes to seduce the maid. Dana tries to resist, but once again falls for Arya's cuteness. She gives the child a few instructions, and our heroine happily agrees. Arya begins her search for a practice room, but the mansion is just too big. The girl hears a strange sound before she is suddenly attacked. A huge dog knocks Arya over and licks her face. Our heroine is glad to see her little friend, but wonders how he got here. The dog barks, explaining that he missed the girl. Our heroine is excited because she can understand the dog. The two play around like little children, and Arya is pleased. She becomes upset as she finally realizes why her father killed all the animals around her. Our heroine soon forgets about her trashy father. She rides her new pet, asking him to find a secret place for her. But who would have thought the dog would take her right to the Duke's office? Arya stares at the man, laughing in fear. The butler looks nervous, probably worried about his new Mrs. Life. Valentine is impressed to see the girl riding his hunting dog. He drags her away, warning her to be careful with his loyal pet. Arya is upset because the man isn't careful with her. Her little legs are dangling in the air. Valentine finally sets the child free, asking her why she came over. Arya's mind becomes blank and she has no idea what to do. She can't even address the Duke properly. The girl quickly thinks of a lie and soon shows the Duke her paper. The man immediately looks shocked. The child calls the Duke father and claims she missed him. The butler is moved because she misses a dangerous man like the Duke. He cries as he imagines a story of a sad little child. Meanwhile, our heroine is just fighting for her life. She writes another sentence saying she is happy to see the Duke. Valentine stares at the little child and finds her amusing. Arya was never familiar with smiling. She had lived in sadness, but after meeting her caring servants, she finally learned to smile. And so our heroine gives her biggest, brightest smile. Valentine isn't moved by the girl's smile. He still finds her words suspicious, but Arya insists it's true. She actually misses the Duke because they haven't met since she arrived. The man is finally convinced. But now there is another problem. He has no idea how to play with this child. Arya freezes because her mind is also blank. Valentine thinks for a while and decides to play with her like his son. The poor butler is frightened because the father and son don't play like humans. He reminds the Duke that Arya is weaker than them. The little child had also fallen sick. Arya wonders how rough the family must be for the butler to be so worried. She imagines a scene filled with blood and thinks it is perfect for this family. The Duke isn't aware of her sickness and says the girl is weaker than an insect. He doesn't know what to do, so Arya offers to play with the wolf dog. The man is confused because she claimed to miss him but only wants to play with the dog. The girl quickly says being by his side makes her happy. The Duke finally invites her in, but the smell of cigarettes makes her uncomfortable. The butler knows the smoke isn't good for Arya, so he urges the Duke to send her away. Valentine refuses and instead orders him to open the windows. Unfortunately, our female lead is now suffering from the cold. The Duke scolds her for being delicate, but still pulls off his coat for her. Arya is nearly buried under the weight, but she still feels happy. She becomes confused as she watches the Duke steal away her cards. The man warns her to breathe properly when next to him. The girl doesn't understand because her breathing has always been normal. But when she tries to breathe, she finds it impossible. Valentine smirks at her and Arya glares at the culprit. But karma soon arrives as the butler drops a mountain of books in front of the Duke. The man begs for some space to breathe, but the butler ignores him. He even adds some more. Our heroine is feeling bored and decides to take a look at the documents. She looks shocked as she remembers a scene from her past. A group of people who had visited the duchy returned with a deadly sickness. Their leader, Viscount Cavendish, had blamed the duchy for their death. He received a huge compensation, which saved him from bankruptcy. But because of this, rumors spread that the duchy was cursed. The Duke is unhappy because those people sneaked into his territory. Yet they are blaming him and asking for a huge compensation. The man is tempted to just kill them all. The butler says it will be annoying, but Valentine isn't concerned. Still, he changes his mind and agrees to pay off the man. His face darkens as he prepares to watch the man crawling around his feet, begging for death. The poor butler is horrified, reminding him that a child is listening. But Arya is thinking of how to stop the Duke. She doesn't want him to compensate the Viscount because the man is known for his gambling. The girl thinks of a plan and tells Valentine she can cure their illness. The man is in doubt, so Arya tells him about her plan. Our heroine says her solution is to feed the men some vermicides. The Duke immediately begins to laugh, which makes the girl frustrated. Valentine is only laughing because he finally understands what happened to those men. He is impressed by how quickly Arya figured it out and offers to get her anything she wants. Another day passes, and Arya once again rides the hunting dog. Her only request was to see the Duke every day, and he said the dog would bring her over. But right now, they are going in a different direction. The dog finally stops running, and Arya sees the estate where she was bought. The girl heads inside and is greeted by a group of handsome men. She urges them to keep quiet, but they are too excited to see their cute mistress. Arya is trying to eavesdrop, but the men surround her, admiring her cute detective act. She glances at them, and they are all watching her in awe. The girl decides to play along, and the men almost die from her cuteness. She ignores the bunch of weirdos, focusing on her mission. She can really hear some voices from inside. The Duke has no idea a certain child is listening. Right now, he is acting like a bandit as he asks the Viscount to pay for the parasite. The man is confused, so Valentine explains that the parasites they ate belong to his mansion. Since they took them without his permission, the men also have to pay. The Viscount is terrified and begs the Duke to let them off. Arya didn't expect the man to show up alone, but guesses that all his subordinates are sick. The Viscount claimed it was the duchy curse, but the sickness was caused by a parasite. His men had entered the duchy without permission and eaten some infected snakes. The Viscount kneels without shame, begging the Grand Duke to pity him. Valentine isn't interested in his show of pity and immediately draws out his sword. His butler is frustrated because his boss always resorts to violence. He begs the Duke to have a peaceful conversation for 10 minutes. Valentine is unwilling, but the butler urges him to discuss for 5 more minutes. Arya is surprised when she hears the Viscount offering to sell his heirloom. The man must be really desperate. The Duke is pleased with his offer and urges the man to pay his debt quickly. The Viscount tries to complain, but immediately cowers at the Duke's scary face. Arya is still eavesdropping when she hears some footsteps approaching. The girl doesn't have the time to hide, and the furious Viscount catches her. The man recognizes her hair color and pulls off her mask. He smirks when he sees the girl's face, calling her the Clown of Cortez. He never knew Sophia had a daughter, but Arya looks just like her mother. Cavendy thinks the girl was sold to the duchy because of her ability. He believes the Valentines will also turn her into a clown, forcing her to sing. Her ability will soon catch the Emperor's eyes, making her father proud. Arya trembles, reminded of her past life. Everyone worshipped her, telling her all their secrets. Her legs were broken and she sang until she coughed out blood. The girl is still trembling when her eyes are suddenly covered. She peeks out and sees a splash of blood. Lloyd had saved her in her past life, but this time his father comes to her rescue. The butler strolls out, not bothered about the Viscount's death. He even accuses the man of mocking their family. The Duke is more worried about his little daughter. The girl's eyes are filled with despair, and she looks terrified. Valentine wants to get rid of her problems and help her hide her identity. He orders his butler to bring a list of the people who attended the Cortez parties. The man begs him to only kill someone once a day. Arya praises her new father and thanks him for his help. The butler can't believe the child is praising the man for killing someone. She truly fits this weird family. Valentine pretends to be aloof, but he still rubs his daughter's little head. A few days pass and our mighty Grand Duke has turned into a daughter slave. The man stares in horror at his office, which is filled with children's toys. He remembers how it all started. He had bought a pink sofa for Arya, and she had thanked him with a pretty smile. The man soon became addicted, adding some vases and even a doll. Every time he would steal away her notes of thanks. The Duke coughs but thinks something is still missing. The butler is worried because the study has now turned into a playroom. Valentine drops the idea and tries to light a cigarette. He sees his pretty baby staring at him and immediately changes his mind. Arya is pleased and rewards her father with a jar of star candy. The Duke notices that Arya only eats sweets, so he summons a doctor. But what he receives is bad news. The doctor says Arya is malnourished and her body seems to be rejecting food. The man thinks it might be a psychological trauma, and the only way to help the girl is to speak to her. The nervous doctor explains that Arya can't swallow food because she is hiding her emotions. If she continues to hide her feelings, the girl will never heal. The Duke asks for a solution, but the man has no cure. He immediately orders his men to get rid of the doctor. His assistant appears, asking him to spare the man. He praises the Duke, saying his boss might be able to cure the girl. Valentine remembers the child's praises and believes he has a chance. So when Arya appears later, he asks her to get married. Our heroine doesn't expect a sudden marriage, but the Duke promises her a grand wedding. The girl asks about Lloyd, but the man misunderstands. He wants her to marry his son so she can have authority and even says she can divorce him when she is older. Arya is worried about Lloyd's opinion. She is afraid the boy might hate her after the forced marriage. The Duke thinks she isn't satisfied and even offers up his second son. The girl rejects the marriage and says she wants to stay by the Duke's side. The man imagines her as his daughter and is immediately pleased. He suddenly mentions Arya's eating disorder, making the girl nervous. The Duke can't understand why she is hiding her emotions, but he vows to destroy anyone who makes her unhappy. He will break their hands if they dare to touch his precious daughter. He kneels before Arya, asking her to stop hiding her emotions. The butler is horrified, thinking the Duke has scared away the little girl. But he is shocked when he sees Arya crying. Our heroine doesn't care if the man is a murderer or a demon. She hugs the Duke because he is her savior. The next morning, the duchy is thrown into chaos. Arya asks for breakfast, but this time she wants some scrambled eggs. The maids almost cry as they run around, urging the cooks to prepare the meal. Our heroine is amazed by the new dish, and when she takes a bite, she almost cries from happiness. The girl eats until the plate becomes sparkling again. The nervous cooks stand by the side waiting for her judgment. Arya praises the dish, and they immediately attack her with different types of food. The girl grabs a candy and thanks the cooks for their hard work. The servants cover their faces because their mistress is sparkling. She's just too beautiful. They cry in happiness because of her praise while Arya watches them with a smile. But the good mood is destined to be ruined as the stubborn Lloyd finally returns. Lloyd returns to the duchy, but this time he isn't alone. He hears footsteps approaching and sees his younger brother. The two head into the mansion but are surprised to see it busy. It looks like they are making a new building. The boys are confused, so they summon a servant. The man hands over a blueprint and we see a drawing of an amusement park. Lloyd looks annoyed, but his brother is excited. The servant explains that the Duke is building a playroom for the lady. More like a play building. Our male lead doesn't look pleased to hear this news. Since his father has lost his mind, the child decides to grant him eternal rest. Vincent is confused, wondering why they are sneaking around in their own mansion. The boys stop walking as they notice a pretty sight. Arya is sleeping in the garden, surrounded by many animals. Vincent is amazed, wondering if the girl is a forest fairy. He remembers that she is a siren and is impressed by her ability. The girl has tamed the stubborn beasts, and even the fierce Duke adores her. He stares at his brother, excited to see what might happen next. Our heroine wakes up next to a huge panther and is surprised to see footprints on the ground. She wonders if someone came by. Arya finishes her meal, which makes Dinah happy. Our heroine has gained a little weight and she rubs her fat belly. But the child still isn't satisfied. She isn't strong enough to sing the song of healing or destruction. The song of healing can cure any sickness, while the song of destruction can ruin people's life. In her past life, Arya began to sing those songs when she turned 14. But the girl is now in a hurry. The Valentine disaster will happen in 4 years, causing Lloyd to become a demon. Arya refuses to let that happen, so she urges the cook to bring more food. The servants are happy to comply, and another meal is served. Dana notices something strange. Her lady seems to have amazing table manners. Even her walk is graceful. Arya almost feels her soul floating in fear. She had learned those skills after her father's beatings. The girl quickly drops her spoon. She pretends to be sad as she says she is too weak to eat. The maids stare at her in shock, and Arya is afraid her plan has failed. Just then, a fight starts as the servants struggle to feed her. The head chef pushes them away and boasts about his license in meat slicing. Arya ignores the clowns and asks Dana to help her, breaking the hearts of the other maids. The next day, our heroine dresses up like a pretty doll. Dana is pleased and offers to take her to see Lloyd. The child is alarmed because she knows the boy will chase her away. She runs out of the room, ignoring the maid behind her. Arya finally stops at the library. The girl is afraid to see Lloyd and decides to ignore him until the Duchess is healed. She looks around, finally noticing that she is at the library. Arya had chosen this place as her practice spot, causing the Duke to think she is a bookworm. The girl is about to sing when she sees someone approaching. A handsome boy walks over, calling her his sister-in-law. The handsome boy grins at Arya, introducing himself as a genius adopted by the Grand Duke. But Arya already knows him. Vincent was a famous genius in her past life. He was adopted by the powerful Grand Duke, but was later kicked out before the Valentine disaster. The rumors spread around town that he was actually a spy for the sewer. Everyone mocked the boy, and he became a drunkard, wandering through the sewers until he died. The people even gave him a nickname, the Genius of Misfortune. Arya stares at the future spy, but the boy looks too innocent. Vincent doesn't know the girl's thoughts and praises her for reading such advanced topics. Our heroine is frightened because she randomly grabbed the books. She has no interest in these topics, but the boy insists on discussing with her. Arya begins to sweat because his words sound like a foreign language. Vincent praises her intelligence and even offers to share his books with her. He suddenly stops smiling as he reveals his hatred for dull people. He thinks they are a waste of oxygen and shouldn't be alive. He starts smiling again, but Arya isn't impressed. She finally knows why the boy was chased out. He is too annoying. The day has barely begun, but our heroine is already unhappy. She glares at the annoying Vincent, who is also at the library. Every time she sees the boy, she always feels uncomfortable. She also can't practice her singing, which makes her upset. Just then, the annoying child asks her to pick a book. Arya is frustrated because anytime she picks a book, the boy discusses the topic. He would also mock her intelligence. Our heroine asks him to recommend a topic, and he gives her a book for dunces. It is filled with basic calculations. The culprit has the courage to smile, and Arya almost spits on his face. The girl returns to her room, and Dana almost faints from fear. Her little miss is like a furious volcano about to explode. Arya isn't angry at the boy for insulting her. She is just unhappy because he is disturbing her practice time. She has to learn the Song of Healing so she can save the Duchess's life. Arya plans to get rid of Vincent, but decides to spare him because he is Lloyd's brother. The girl heads to the library the next day, but sees the annoying Vincent. She decides to leave, but the boy stops her. He smiles like a demon as he mentions her family's musical talent. Arya's grandfather, Maestro, was a famous musician. Vincent laughs at her, mocking her for not knowing her family's history. This is the last straw, and our heroine finally snaps. She slaps the boy with the book and heads to the piano. Vincent studies the sheet and doesn't believe the girl can play the famous masterpiece. The score was created by the Holy Empire, and no one has been able to play the music. But Vincent is bound to be shocked. Arya plays one masterpiece after the other, leaving the boy in awe. When she ends the show, Vincent is unwilling. Arya spares him no face and tells the boy to get lost. The genius is reminded of Lloyd and thinks they are a perfect couple. He isn't ashamed of being chased away and instead praises his sister-in-law. She is really a genius. Arya stares at the boy who keeps repeating that he is a genius. She wants to admire the flowers, but the boy follows her everywhere, ruining her plans. Vincent praises his own intelligence again, and our heroine doesn't even blink. The child is upset with her for hiding her talent and thinks she is secretly practicing her music. Arya agrees because she has no time to explain, but Vincent only becomes worse as he accuses her of hiding her genius face. He acts shy as he praises his own looks. Our heroine believes the boy has gone mad. After all, there is only a thin line between a genius and a madman. The boy says he is tired of his face card, and Arya pities the mad genius. She notices the book he is reading and pretends to be interested. Vincent says it is the old version of the law book. Arya watches him, wondering if the boy is about to become a judge. He is still reading the old law book, even though a new one will soon be published. Vincent scolds her for trying to change the topic. He still can't believe that Arya is such a young genius. Our female lead already knows she is a genius because her father always praised her. He admired her perfect pitch and wide range. Arya could remember a song even though she only heard it once. But soon, his praises turned into curses. He hated Arya for stealing his musical talent. The man thought he should be the one with such perfect abilities. The girl watched her father crumble and finally understood that she had a divine talent. Her grandfather was a genius composer and her mother was a famous siren. Arya was born with both abilities and everyone worshipped her talent, but the girl never wanted those powers. Vincent says Arya would be popular if she could sing. The Valentines would support her with all their power. He has no idea that the girl has already experienced this fate. The Emperor even worshipped her as his god. Arya's past has taught her a harsh lesson and she advises Vincent. She says the people that praised his talent would also kill him because of his abilities. The boy is shocked, but she warns him never to live for people's validation. He has to live for himself and stop trying to prove his intelligence. Vincent blushes in shame and even his fingers turn red. He never knew his sister-in-law was so wise. He smiles because he thinks they are now close. Arya looks frustrated, so he wisely stops talking. Instead, he praises himself again, calling himself the sun. Arya changes her mind and thinks the annoying boy would be stoned to death. She warns him to focus on his work and asks him to get lost. Vincent really thinks those rumors are false. Everyone said Arya was a cute doll, but she is just as strict as his brother. The boy is unwilling and asks Arya what her job is. The girl doesn't hesitate as she only thinks of one person. Her job is to protect her people. Our heroine has found a new hobby. Every day, she rushes to the garden and waits for the messenger bird to bring her letter. But this time, the pigeon only brings over a flower. Arya knows the Duchess must have lost the strength to write letters. She is afraid the woman's condition might soon become worse. Our heroine tries to pet the bird, but it suddenly cries out and rushes away. The girl is confused until she sees Lloyd arriving with a huge black panther. The boy glares at her, and Arya is afraid he might chase her away. Just then, she notices the black panther approaching her. The girl is curious, but when she tries to pet it, the beast moves away. Arya tries again, but the animal keeps avoiding her. She has no idea why it came over, just to avoid her touch. Lloyd is stunned as he watches the two play a game of dodge. He interrupts them, wondering why she didn't use his authority. He scolds her for not leaving, but Arya isn't listening. She is trying to touch the beast again. The prince rushes to stop her, but it is too late. Arya stares at her red hand in shock because the panther almost broke her bone. Lloyd rushes over like lightning, almost frightening the girl. He yells at her for touching the beast, totally annoyed by her behavior. He asks for her hand, but becomes upset when she obeys. The prince is about to die from anger. Our heroine stares at her hand, which has been put in a cast, and thinks the boy is overreacting. Lloyd suddenly calls her a schemer. He thinks the girl is hurting herself, so he can't chase her away. He says she is trying to make him care about her. Arya asks if he cares, and Lloyd flinches. He says he doesn't, but he can't even look at her face. The prince warns her to leave after she heals. Arya stares at him, and he suddenly becomes defensive. He questions her, looking just like his stubborn panther. Lloyd pretends not to care, but still advises her to visit the doctor. He leaves, and Arya is amused by his cute behavior. Another day arrives, and our heroine continues her research. Siren songs are divided into multiple categories. Arya tries to sing, but she falls to the ground. The girl is frustrated because she isn't improving. She can sing multiple songs, but fails every time she practices the Song of Healing. Arya knows she might reach her peak at 14, but by then, the Duchess might already be dead. The girl lies on the floor in despair. She knows she will reach her peak if she keeps practicing, but she has to find a quicker way. Arya is about to sink into despair when she suddenly remembers the illusion barrier. Our female lead thinks of a quicker method and suddenly remembers the illusion barrier. The shield is very powerful, so the creator must also be strong. She thinks the person might have more talent than her. She wonders what energy he uses since the barrier felt strange. Arya is busy thinking and doesn't notice the man approaching. The two collide, causing his documents to fly around. The girl takes a peek and is shocked by what she sees. The man is about to scold the girl when he realizes her identity. Arya doesn't recognize him, so he introduces himself as Rice and Stewart. The girl becomes stern as she remembers the Baron. She knows he is a scribe and wonders why he is here. The man claims he is organizing some documents. Arya doesn't find his answers strange, but she still watches him with a suspicious eye. The man is frightened by her look, wondering if she saw the documents. He thinks it is impossible because she only looked at it for 10 seconds. Ryson looks down on Arya and says she will be chased out after the Duchess's death. Arya is still watching the man leave. She has a bad feeling about him, and it seems to be connected to Vincent. The girl seems to have an idea about what they are planning. She heads upstairs and stares out the window. But our heroine isn't admiring the view. She waits for Ryson to step out and quickly summons some birds. She urges them to attack the man and watches in delight as they destroy his documents. Arya is satisfied and turns around to leave. She has to find the person who created this barrier. The girl has no time to search around and decides to ask her little wolf dog. She asks for the strongest person after the Duke, but the dog says it is Lloyd. Our heroine is even ranked as the third strongest person. She finally gets her answer when the dog mentions the fourth person. She urges the wolf to take her to him. Little doggy leads Arya to a huge castle. This is the Eastern Tower, and our heroine will finally meet the mystery man. Arya is eager to meet the mystery man, but after knocking a few times, she receives no reply. The girl can clearly feel someone's energy inside, so there is only one explanation. The man is ignoring her. Well, our heroine isn't too bothered. She just has to smash the door and go in. Arya feels a little bad when she sees the broken door, but she still has to praise the culprit. Meanwhile, the owner of the castle is about to curse them out. Arya is just like Lloyd. Anytime he ignores the prince, the boy smashes down his door. The girl really picked the right family. Our heroine apologizes and says it was urgent. The man doesn't argue anymore and introduces himself as Callan, a spellcaster. Arya is shocked because it is forbidden to borrow another's magical power. The Valentines are boldly breaking the law. She studies the criminal who doesn't look ashamed and even has his own tower. He really fits the demon castle. Kaelin also studies the girl. The man has some past trauma because other kids always call him a magician. He warns Arya not to call him that because he doesn't perform tricks. He pushes the girl out of his castle, but she immediately turns around and grabs his coat, refusing to leave. Arya shoves a paper into the man's face, asking him to explain the ways to control energy. Kaelin is surprised because he expected the girl to throw a tantrum, begging to learn magic like other children. He is impressed that she understands energy, but explains that not all humans can control their power. Someone who doesn't have a lot of energy will die if the power leaves their body. Only a few people can use energy. And Callan praises himself as a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Arya isn't interested in his story and wants to know how long it takes to control one's energy. Kaelin says 6 years, and our heroine looks disappointed. She can't wait for such a long time, so she asks the man to force open her core. Kaelin is silent for a while before he explodes, scolding the girl for being crazy. Arya might die if all the energy is drained from her body. The man has no desire to murder the future princess, so he warns her to stop those thoughts. The stubborn Arya knows this is the quickest method, so she begs the man to help her. Kaelin refuses because the people who train with this stupid method are those who have a lot of energy. He turns into a scholar and begs the girl to understand herself. Arya's energy is just too faint, and he is afraid she might drop dead a second after her core is opened. Kaelin advises her to give up and urges her to leave. Arya frowns, suddenly revealing her energy. The man is shocked because Arya's energy is just too huge. Humans can't have this much power, so he questions the girl. Arya knows she can't hide her identity because this man is the only one who can help her. And so our heroine finally speaks, revealing that she is a siren. Poor Kaelin is so shocked he can't hold back his curse. Arya reveals her identity as a siren, leaving the poor man in shock. He finally realizes that the girl has been hiding her mythical energy. Kaelin had found it strange at first because the energy she revealed was too weak to keep her alive. Arya actually doesn't need the man's help. Because she has the memories from her past life, she can control and hide her energy. She is only asking for help because her core is now blocked. Callan covers his face in pain because Arya is just too abnormal. He becomes even more offended when she says she can control her energy. The girl has been using it even without a pathway. Callan is impressed by her talent but still scolds her for misusing her energy. Arya looks sad and explains that she wasn't taught to control her magic. The girl would just sing until she coughed out blood. Callan is upset to hear this. Everyone knows the Count is like a puppet master. He kidnapped a siren and after forcing her to give birth to a daughter, sold the child away because she couldn't speak. The man scolds her father for being a scumbag. He is afraid Arya might have suffered, which is why she can calmly ask him to force her core open. He curses her father again, wishing the man was born as an insect. But that doesn't mean he will agree to Arya's ridiculous request. Our female lead knows she can control her energy immediately. Her core is opened, but the man refuses to believe her. He is curious and wants to know why she is so desperate. Arya knows the man might call her crazy if she reveals the truth. But this is the only way to convince him. Our heroine looks determined as she says she wants to change the future. Kaelin is in shock and quickly stops the girl before she reveals the secret. He is sure she has received a prophecy but has no desire to hear about it. Arya is surprised because most people will be curious about the future. Kaelin refuses to listen and even warns her not to change the future. He says every human has their given fate, but Arya is unwilling to carry such a useless destiny. She thinks he is talking about God's will, but the man explains that there are rules in this world. The earth might look like chaos, but everything is flowing according to the chosen laws. Those laws work like a wheel and make sure apples are red or the sky is blue. They maintain the order of this world. Kaelin tells Arya humans can't change the future. If they interfere with these rules, they will only destroy the system, forcing it to create new laws. He tells Arya she will have to pay a greater price. Our heroine can almost feel the ghostly hands around her neck. But the girl knows it is only fair. If she changes the future and saves someone who is supposed to die, she has to pay back with blood. But that doesn't stop Arya. She thinks about the man who saved her and is determined to change the future. She has to prevent the tragedy and stop Lloyd from becoming a heartless monster. Arya is deep in thought and finally notices a loophole. She returned to the past, but still remembers the future. The world should have erased her memories if they didn't want her to change the laws. Kaelin is also surprised and finds it strange. Arya seems to be glowing as she says her will is the law of nature. The laws didn't stop her, even though they knew she would try to change the future. It is because she is now the world. Kaelin thinks she is saying nonsense, but Arya doesn't care. She knows it will be difficult and she might not be able to change the future. But the girl is willing to try. If the world is wrong, she will try to make it right. She refuses to sit around waiting for disaster to happen just because she is afraid of a price. Kaelin is shocked by her courage. He wonders if the girl is just a naive child who truly thinks she can change the world. He doesn't understand why she still believes in the world even though she's been hurt. The man decides to give her a chance to prove herself. Arya grins and asks for permission to leave the duchy. But the only way to do that is to use a transportation scroll. These scrolls can move people between continents and cost more than an estate. Kaelin is upset as he glares at Arya, who has stolen one from him. He keeps peeking at the scroll, unable to leave his baby. He offers to make a doll to replace the girl, and Arya agrees. The man urges her to return quickly because those tricks won't be able to deceive the two masters. He will be dead if they find out. Kaelin doesn't know if he is doing the right thing. He begs Arya to return if she encounters some danger. The girl grins as she rips apart the scroll. But at the last moment, a large wolf rushes towards her. Kaelin is unable to stop them, and they both disappear. Arya opens her eyes and finds herself at Garcia, the Holy Empire. She hears barking behind her and sees the stubborn Silver. The girl is upset and scolds the dog for following her. Silver says it wants to help his master, and Arya finds him cute. She mounts the wolf, urging him to follow the sun. Arya knows the Holy Empire also has its dark parts. There are places filled with poverty, and the most famous one is the Eastern Village. The Empire has even named it the lowest point. At first, it was just an abandoned wasteland, but was soon occupied by criminals. It became a lawless village that even the Empire couldn't control. And that is where our heroine is headed. The girl pulls up her cloak, knowing she has to be careful. But she has barely entered the village when she's stopped by a dunk man. The man notices her hair color and finds it interesting. He is determined to sell the girl if she also looks good. The man thinks he has found a prey and plans to sell Arya off. He is ready to take off her cloak, and our heroine closes her eyes in fear. Silver comes to her rescue, scaring the man away with its fierce behavior. The criminal screams as he runs away in fear. Arya is still shocked because she has barely entered the city but was almost kidnapped. She finally understands why the government gave up on this village. Arya glances at the confused wolf. She asks it to wait behind, but Silver immediately protests. She says the dog is too big and will easily attract criminals. She is afraid they might try to sell him off. Arya leaves the wolf behind and heads out alone. It has become dark, so she knows she has to hurry. She sneaks around the alleys and can hear people begging for their lives. Arya realizes the danger and knows she has to be careful. The girl finally arrives at her destination, an old abandoned building that used to be a temple. No one would have guessed that a holy artifact is hidden inside. Arya is only aware because she still has her old memories. In her past life, the evil saintess had found the artifact in this temple. Arya arrives at the building and sneaks around, trying to find the secret opening. She stops when she notices a spot on the ground. The girl parts the grass and sees a secret door. She is about to go in when she suddenly hears a voice behind her. Arya is alarmed when she realizes that someone is here, but she soon calms down when she sees the man is sleeping. The girl sneaks away quietly, determined to get the artifact and run away. She steps through the door and almost falls over from the darkness. Arya suddenly feels grateful for her siren supervision. She searches around and finally notices a box on an altar. The girl opens the box and really sees the branch. She has found the divine artifact. According to legends, God struck the humans with lightning, punishing them for disobeying him. A lightning strike had hit a small branch, causing it to carry God's power. The branch was then called God's judgment. Arya hides the artifact, preparing to head back. But when she touches the wall, she notices something strange. The girl goes over to investigate and soon notices that one of the bricks can be pulled out. She drags it out and sees a small opening. Arya shoves her hand into the space, digging around like a little thief. She soon finds something, pulling out a golden necklace. Our heroine finds it familiar because the Saintess wore it in her past life. She is confused because the necklace has no divine power, but she still insists on taking it away. The girl, tired after her robbery, climbs out of the hole. But her eyes widen in fear when she sees a group of men waiting for her. Arya knows she is in trouble when she sees a bunch of criminals. They snatch the box away, excited to see the treasure she found. But they become disappointed when they see a small branch. They thought the girl was searching for treasure and had been waiting for her to arrive. The men become excited again when they remember that Arya is still here. Since they didn't find any treasure, they can just sell the child. Arya's cloak is removed and the men are stunned by her beauty. They imagine the people they could sell her to and immediately look happy. They even tease the child. Our heroine is upset and glares at the men. She didn't plan to reveal her abilities, afraid of standing out. But since there are no guards around, she decides to erase the men's memories. The criminals have no idea they are in danger and plan to take Arya away. The girl is about to sing when she hears a loud voice. A young, handsome boy arrives, dressed like a knight. The criminals become alarmed when they notice the boy's uniform. He belongs to the Empire's Holy Knights. They watch him like a strange creature, but relax when they notice his young face. The boy scolds them for bullying a child, but they aren't afraid. They even threaten to capture him too. The knight draws his sword, preaching to them about God. The criminals almost fall over from laughter. They mock him for talking about God, and it makes the boy furious. He charges at them, determined to teach them a lesson. The criminals all look frightened, and we expect to see the men lying on the floor in defeat. Instead, we see the knight bleeding from all parts of his body. Well, at least he tried. Arya stares at the foolish boy, wondering why he came over when he can't even fight. She finally notices his squire uniform and is sure he is just a new soldier. In Garcia, it is easy to become a soldier even without abilities. The criminals plan to sell the boy and are afraid his injured face might lower their price. Arya won't allow that to happen. Since the boy helped her, she is going to save him. The girl blows a whistle, startling the men. They are about to scold her when they notice something approaching. A giant wolf dog jumps out of the woods. Arya thinks the dog is going to eat the men and quickly closes her eyes. Instead, she hears their screams fading away. The girl opens her eyes and sees the cute Silver holding the men's clothes. Arya is happy she didn't look. She has no desire to see a bunch of naked men running around. The girl is ready to leave when she remembers the injured knight. She drags the poor boy across the ground and places him on Silver's back. The girl knows her journey will be longer, but she won't abandon the child. She decides to take him back to the church. Arya arrives at the temple and dumps the boy at the entrance. She knows she has to leave, but she is still worried. She is afraid the boy might fall into despair. He might think the world is unjust because he was defeated by the bad people. Arya doesn't want him to lose hope because there is always a next time. The girl writes a message, praising the child and urging him not to give up. She leaves, hoping they won't meet again. Arya feels awkward. She teleports back to the duchy, but somehow ends up right on top of Kaelin. The two are in shock before she pushes his face away in disgust. The man almost feels his heart break. Arya wonders if anything has happened, and Kaelin has exciting news for her. The duchy is in chaos because someone is accusing Vincent of being a spy. Arya doesn't look surprised. She just didn't expect the person to make his move so quickly. Kaelin sees that the girl isn't shocked and realizes that she was trying to prevent this future. The man is confused because Arya isn't close to the young boy. He wonders why she is trying to help when she won't benefit. Kaelin refuses to get involved because he isn't as nice as Arya. He smirks because once the trial date is set and the boy is imprisoned, it will be impossible to prove his innocence. He tells Arya this is the last chance to save the child. Our heroine calls over her loyal dog and urges him to take her to Lloyd. Meanwhile, inside an underground prison, Vincent is shivering in fear. He watches the Duke as the man questions some sewer rats, asking if they have seen his face before. A mean-looking lord is feeling nervous. He never expected the Duke to find some sewer rats, but he smiles because it will also work in his favor. Valentine questions the rats, threatening to take away their master's business if they refuse to tell the truth. The men are terrified and finally confess that they have seen Vincent. When the boy was young, he was popular in the sewage because of his beautiful face. The Grand Duke can feel his head aching. He remembers the first time he met Vincent. The young child had crossed mountains alone without any weapons, just to arrive at the duchy. He was covered in wounds and was wearing rags. The Valentines had tested his blood, and he indeed belonged to their family. The child also displayed an unnatural intelligence. He had boldly begged the Duke to adopt him. Valentine is upset and doesn't care about where the boy is from. He just wants to know if he is a spy. The rats have no idea because they are only prey. Only the most trusted subordinates can become a spy. The Duke is ready to catch a subordinate to prove the boy's innocence. The rat suddenly mentions that he has seen Vincent in the prey den. The mean-looking lord interrupts, clearly happy to accuse Vincent. Valentine stares at him, asking the man if he has also seen the lord. The evil lord begins to sweat and only calms down when the rat says no. The Duke questions Vincent, but the boy doesn't deny the accusation. He says he isn't a spy, but refuses to explain why he was at the prey den. He only says he was foolish. The Duke is disappointed because he is giving the boy a chance. He questions him again, hoping the boy will tell the truth. Instead, Vincent remains quiet. The Duke stares at him, but he has no choice. He orders his men to lock him up. The poor child is in despair, wondering if this is his end. He remembers Arya's words, warning him that his abilities would kill him. He finally understands what the girl was trying to say. The boy is in pain when someone suddenly approaches and grabs his hand. He turns around and sees Arya staring at him. Vincent isn't the only one who is shocked. The soldiers are also alarmed to see their mistress. Vincent asks why she is here when another person appears. Lloyd separates the two, warning them to stay apart. The children look serious, but we have no idea if they are here to save Vincent. Is the boy really a spy? Comment villain below for part 2. Until next time, ciao.